Welcome to the Glad Labs podcast. Today's episode, Escaping the GitFlow Trap, How to Build Workflows That Actually Scale. Welcome to today's episode. The modern software development landscape is defined by speed, agility, and the relentless pressure to ship features faster. Yet, despite the availability of powerful version control tools, many development teams find themselves paralyzed by a single, persistent bottleneck: their branching strategy. For years, the industry has looked to GitFlow as the gold standard. It was the manual that developers reached for when their repositories began to resemble tangled vines. However, as development cycles have accelerated and the move toward continuous delivery has become the norm, GitFlow has revealed its fatal flaw: it is too rigid. It was designed for a world where releases were rare, predictable events, not a chaotic, daily reality. If you are still tethered to the strict branches of GitFlow, you are likely experiencing what many organizations call branch hell. You are merging, resolving conflicts, and waiting for approvals on branches that have been sitting idle for weeks. The result is a repository that is difficult to navigate and a development team that is frustrated by unnecessary friction. The solution isn't to abandon Git entirely, but to evolve your workflow. To truly scale, a version control strategy must be as fluid as the code it manages. It must support rapid iteration, seamless collaboration, and the ability to deploy to production at a moment's notice. This shift requires moving beyond the rigid scaffolding of GitFlow and embracing strategies that prioritize simplicity and continuous integration. Let's now turn to why GitFlow became popular in the first place. In its original form, GitFlow provided a structured environment to handle different stages of a software lifecycle: development, feature, release, and hotfix. It promised order. It promised that the main branch would always be clean and deployable. However, this promise comes at a steep cost. GitFlow relies heavily on long-lived branches. When a developer needs to work on a new feature, they create a branch off the develop branch. This branch may exist for days, weeks, or even months. During this time, the feature is isolated. The team cannot easily merge changes from others, nor can they test their code against the latest production build. By the time the feature is finally ready, the develop branch has diverged significantly from master. Merging the feature back into the main line requires resolving conflicts that may have accumulated over weeks. Furthermore, the release branch, which is a branch created just before a major version, creates a fragile bottleneck. Any bug found during the release process requires a hotfix, which then has to be merged back into develop, master, and the release branch simultaneously. For a startup or a team working on a massive monolithic application, this might be manageable. But for modern agile teams, this overhead is a liability. It introduces a delay between coding and testing. It creates a psychological barrier to pushing changes. It encourages developers to work in silos, unaware of the state of the codebase until the very end of the cycle. Many organizations have found that the complexity of managing these multiple branches outweighs the benefits of a clean master branch. The truth is, in a modern continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline, the main branch doesn't need to be pristine at all times. It just needs to be safe. And safety is achieved through automation, not through manual branching constraints. If GitFlow is the manual transmission of version control, trunk-based development is the electric vehicle. It is a strategy that has gained significant traction among high-performing engineering teams, including those at companies like Google and Netflix. The core philosophy is disarmingly simple. Developers commit their code directly to the main branch. At first glance, this sounds like a recipe for disaster. How can you collaborate if everyone is pushing to the same line? The answer lies in the culture of the team and the strength of the continuous integration pipeline. In a trunk-based workflow, the CI system is the gatekeeper. No code is allowed to enter the main branch unless it passes a suite of automated tests, linting checks, and security scans. Because the bar for entry is high, the risk of breaking the build is low. If a developer introduces a bug, the CI pipeline fails immediately. They can fix it and push again, all without ever creating a temporary branch. This creates a feedback loop that is incredibly fast. The time from writing a line of code to seeing if it works is measured in minutes, not days. This approach also eliminates the merge hell associated with long-lived branches. Since there are no feature branches, there are no merge conflicts to resolve. The main branch is always up to date. When it is time to release, the team simply takes the current state of the main branch and creates a tag. No complex release branching is required. Of course, trunk-based development is not for everyone. It requires a high degree of discipline. Developers must commit small, atomic changes. They cannot work on a feature for a week and then commit it all at once. They must commit daily, or even hourly. It also requires a robust CI/CD pipeline that can handle frequent builds and deployments. However, for teams willing to invest in the process, the payoff is immense. It leads to faster time to market, fewer bugs, and a development process that feels less like a chore and more like a game. While trunk-based development is the ideal for many high-performing teams, it can be intimidating for organizations with legacy codebases or strict compliance requirements. For these teams, a middle ground is often necessary. This is where GitLab Flow shines. GitLab Flow is a set of rules that bridges the gap between the rigid structure of GitFlow and the simplicity of trunk-based development. It relies on the concept of environment-specific branches. Unlike GitFlow, which uses arbitrary branch names, GitLab Flow uses the branch name to denote its purpose and its relationship to production. The most common variation is production branching. In this model, you have a single branch that represents your production code. This branch is protected. No one pushes directly to it. Instead, developers create feature branches off this production branch. When the feature is complete, they merge it back into the production branch and create a merge request. This is where the magic happens. The merge request triggers the CI/CD pipeline. The pipeline can be configured to run the tests on the feature branch. If the tests pass, the pipeline can then deploy the code to a staging environment. This allows the team to review the code, test the functionality, and perform manual quality assurance in a safe, isolated environment. Once the code is approved and tested in staging, it can be promoted to production. This promotion is often done via a manual approval step or an automated process, depending on the criticality of the change. Because the promotion is controlled, the main branch remains stable. This approach retains the safety of GitFlow while stripping away the unnecessary complexity. It allows teams to use feature branches for isolation, but it ensures that the code is always moving toward production. It eliminates the need for a separate release branch, as the promotion process serves that function. Let's now turn to the human element. You can implement trunk-based development or GitLab Flow perfectly, but if your team is not aligned, the workflow will fail. The transition requires a shift in mindset. Moving away from GitFlow means accepting a higher level of transparency. In a trunk-based environment, every commit is visible. There is no hiding behind a feature branch. This requires a culture of psychological safety, where developers are comfortable admitting when they have made a mistake. It requires a culture of code ownership, where everyone is responsible for the quality of the entire codebase, not just their own feature. One of the biggest hurdles is the resistance to small commits. Many developers are taught to save up their changes and commit them in one big block. In a trunk-based workflow, this is a bad habit. It makes it harder to bisect the code to find the source of a bug. It makes the history harder to read. The team must be trained to commit early and often. Code reviews are also crucial. Without the safety net of a feature branch, the main branch is exposed to every change. This makes the review process even more important. Reviews should not just check for syntax errors, they should check for logic, performance, and alignment with the project's goals. Ultimately, the goal of a scalable Git workflow is to remove the friction between a developer's idea and its implementation in production. If you find yourself spending more time merging branches than writing code, or if you are afraid to push to the main branch because you don't want to break the build, it is time to change your strategy. The software industry is constantly evolving, and our tools should evolve with it. GitFlow was a brilliant solution for its time, but that time has passed. By clinging to outdated workflows, teams are inadvertently slowing down their innovation. The path forward is not about finding the perfect branching model, but about finding the model that fits your specific context. Do you have a small, agile team? Try trunk-based development. Do you have complex compliance needs?
Try GitLab Flow.
Do you need to support a large legacy codebase? Look into a hybrid approach that preserves existing workflows while introducing new ones for new features. Start small. Don't try to restructure your entire repository overnight. Pick one team or even one feature and experiment with a new workflow. See how it impacts your cycle time and your team's morale. Gather feedback. Iterate. The most successful teams are those that view their development process as a product to be improved, not a set of rules to be followed. By breaking free from the GitFlow trap, you unlock a new level of efficiency. You free your developers to focus on what they do best, writing great software. You free your operations team to focus on automation. And you free your business to ship value to your customers faster than ever before. Are you ready to simplify your pipeline and reclaim your sanity? The code is waiting. Thanks for listening to the Glad Labs podcast. Visit gladlabs.io for more episodes, articles, and insights.
See you next time.